Today we're talking about household hazardous waste. So I think a good place to start is, what is household hazardous waste? That's the material in your house that you no longer want, but that has been deemed hazardous. And what does that mean? It means that there's a potential harm to your health and well-being if we're using this material. When we have stuff that we want to get rid of, we have some infrastructure in our area, and that would include a solid waste landfill, a material recovery facility that takes our recycling, and then we have composting for our yard waste and food waste. So when we have things we want to get rid of, we have an opportunity to send what needs to be sent to these certain places. And when we have waste, that a lot of hazardous waste comes in liquid form, that's not solid waste. So when we send stuff to a solid waste landfill, a lot of excess liquid can mix together and have any type of reaction. We actually aren't really sure because there's all types of stuff going to the landfill. So when we don't really know, we know what things can happen if they react, but we don't really fully know what's gonna happen when we mix all this stuff in a landfill. So all that liquid mixes together. It is called leachate. I lovingly call it garbage juice. And so when that stuff mixes together, it has the opportunity for gravity to do its thing. It can kind of end up at the bottom of a landfill that can seep into the soil, into the ground, where our groundwater is stored. So we want to make sure that we're protecting the water we drink by only sending the things that need to go to the landfill. And this stuff is really not what needs to go there. We're trying to protect the resources that we need to live on the planet, because we need access to safe and clean water, safe and clean air, and safe and clean food. So let's make sure that if we are choosing to use this stuff, we're using it responsibly, and then we're gonna get rid of it responsibly. So when it's in our household and we wanna get rid of it, this material can be considered corrosive, so it can eat through you. It can be explosive, so it can cause a fire. It can be reactive, which means it can mix together and cause a whole plethora of issues. Or it can be toxic, so if you ingest it, it can be hurtful to your body. So it's kind of that type of material that we want to talk about when we mean household hazardous waste, because there's waste all over the place, but the hazardous waste is the stuff that can have a risk to our health if we're not using it correctly. So when we are wanting to get rid of this waste, instead of throwing it away in our trash, in the area of St. Louis, we have drop-off facilities that we can take this stuff to. And what we're looking to do is, at first, we really would like to be your last option. So we would love if you would use safer alternatives first, buy what you need and use it all up, share your leftovers, and then come to us. So when we have this corrosive, explosive, reactive, toxic material, that is not something that we want to just put in our trash can. We want to make sure that, because it can have all of those things happen, we want to make sure that there are trained staff available to take this waste for you, and we want to make sure we're dropping it off at a specific facility that can handle this stuff, because of the possibility of what could happen if we aren't handling this stuff correctly. So also when we're thinking, okay, so what's hazardous waste? What could be corrosive? What are we even looking at? So when you read the label of material, when you're shopping at the store, you look at the label, and we're gonna look for things like an exclamation point symbol or the word caution. And that means there's a minimal risk when you're using it if you don't use it safely, but it's minimal. And then we have something like a lightning bolt and the word warning. And that means there is a moderate risk if we're not using it safely and correctly as per directions. Then we have something like the word danger or a flame picture. And that could mean it's flammable, so it could cause a fire. And then we have something like skull and crossbones and something like toxic and poisonous. And that means that's some pretty serious stuff that we're working with. So when it has those words, when it has those symbols, that is a really good point that says, this is hazardous, and I need to be really careful when I'm using it. And I really want to make sure that I'm reading the directions when I use it so that I don't hurt myself when I use it. And when it's stored in my house, I'm not hurting the people in my household or me by having it stored incorrectly. If we're using it, we're storing it, we're eventually going to have to get rid of it. We want it to go away, we need it to go away, we no longer need it, or maybe we're moving, or maybe someone's passed away and we're closing their house up. You know, what do we do with stuff that could have some dangerous consequences if we're not using it correctly? So the answer would be the household hazardous waste facilities. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna get online or give us a call. We're gonna make a reservation. That way we know you're coming, we know where the waste is coming from, and we have you all set. So all you have to do is that day you show up and we unload your car for you. And if there's a cost, we can take care of that, and then you just drive away. The Household Hazardous Waste Program was built from a collaboration between St. Louis County, St. Louis City, and Jefferson County. We also get funding from the Solid Waste Management District and the Missouri Department of Natural Resources. So we all came together and we were doing one-day events, and they were widely popular because, you know, you'd want to clean out your house and you had an opportunity to, but the lines, you'd wait an hour's worth of time and you'd get your stuff dropped off, and then it might not happen for another 3 to 4 months or maybe 6 months. You actually didn't know if there'd be another event. So you'd kind of be holding on to this stuff and not really knowing what to do with it. So after doing all those one-day events, we said, well, wouldn't it be really cool if this was just a service that could be open to everybody all year round, instead of having to wait and then waiting in line in hours in your car, and maybe you couldn't come that day. Now we're open 4 days a week at least, so there's an opportunity all year round to get rid of this stuff. So it really is a collaboration between St. Louis City, Jefferson County, and St. Louis County, and that's what our specific program is open to. There are programs on the Illinois side that do the same thing. St. Charles County has their own programs too. So when you are looking to get rid of this kind of waste, again, it's in, you know, under your sink, in your garage, in your basement. When you're thinking of things, you're wanting to kill germs with cleaners. Maybe you're trying to kill bugs in your garden. Maybe you're trying to put gas in your car. Those kind of materials, when you think about those things, that's when we can think of the Household Hazardous Waste Facility. That latex paint is actually not considered a hazardous material because it's water-based. But at the Household Hazardous Waste Facility, we do have this extra recycling effort, and you can drop off paint to us. There is a cost to it, and we'd want to visit the website or call us with that explicit information just in case anything changes. But we do collect it, and we are looking to have the paint in it because that gets shipped to a company that turns it back into paint that they can sell on the shelves again. So when you're looking through your house, of that, definitely the paint collection we have, we wanted to keep it just in case we needed to touch up something from 5 years ago. We know that, you know, maybe its time has come, but we're kind of looking for cans that are about halfway or full, because if they're crusty and dried out, those can actually go in your trash can. You also can dry out paint. That's also totally acceptable, but it needs to be dried out before you throw it away. So that's why we have this extra effort that the paint wants to live as paint, and it can have a second chance when you recycle it. But yes, we're looking for the paint more than the paint can itself when we talk about paint recycling. Of course, we want you to reduce the waste you're generating, and we want you to find safer alternatives. We would love for you to buy what you need. We would love you to share it if you can't use it all up. And then if not, we are here for you, and we're open all year long. So no matter what you're dealing with, you are able to get rid of it because we want to be that resource for the community for you guys.